Hey family, I'm on the move because baby's fussy when we sit still. Mama's tired, so if this is not the most engaging video, that's why. I've been working from home and I'm not apologizing for it. So yeah, today is the day before Father's Day, and this year the day before Juneteenth as well. So I thought I would record this. Just talking about what I've found so far with researching my father's side of the family. Hopefully I can keep it under 5 minutes. If I can, I can send it to Dane Calloway. If not, it is what it is. So my father was born in Memphis. He grew up in Greenville, Mississippi. Both of my grandparents were born and raised in Greenville, Mississippi. I don't know exactly why my father was born in Memphis. I remember him saying that my grandmother, she was a nurse. She worked at a hospital in Memphis at some point, but she was 18 when she had him, so I don't know if she was doing that while pregnant with him or immediately postpartum with him. But at some point, no, they both ended up back in Greenville. There may have been some separation between my grandmother and grandfather because my uncle was the second of the 6 kids that she had. I think he's like 7 years younger than my dad. So something happened because I found a census record and my grandfather was not there, but another man's name was. But I don't really want to ask about that. So yeah, father was born in Memphis. Now my grandfather, he's only had 2 grandparents living when I was born. And my grandfather was the most active, the most lucid, the one I was closest to. Even though my mom's mother, who was the other living grandparent, she lived the longest. But yeah, my grandfather, he's like my first roadblock because he didn't really grow up with his parents and his father even more so than his mother. So I think just even getting my great-grandparents' names, because they're the only 2 great-grandparents I can't name. I can name the other 6. But yeah, he's like the first roadblock. Now there are some relatives still living that I can ask. I just haven't made the phone calls yet. But yeah, so it's kind of a shame because he's the one I was closest to. Now my grandmother's side, we can go back farther because my great-grandfather, her father, Papa Austin, he lived till like 73. He was born in 1889, died in 73. My grandmother, when my grandmother passed, my mom was still pregnant with me. It was like November of 76. So yeah, now my grandmother's mom, I've got her name, but she's almost like my grandfather. Like, I don't know who the people were, like who her parents were. I have an idea of when she died, but yeah, she's the second roadblock on my father's side. I think she died in the 50s. So yeah, my aunt, who's the youngest of the 6, she may or may not have some memory of her. But I mean, it's like another phone call. It's like the same people I would have to ask. But Papa Austin, he was born in Glen Allen, Arkansas. So I think that's where his mom's people were from. But then, he was brought right back across the river. So I still consider him Mississippi. Yeah, so I don't want to go too far back. I want to make sure I hit every grandparent. So born 1889 in Arkansas, brought back across the river. And then you got my father, who was born in Memphis, but came back over to Mississippi. And even though I'm focusing on my dad's side, my mom, she was born in St. Louis. But I know that's because I think there was an aunt who agreed to like help her, during the postpartum period. And she was on the St. Louis side of the river. But then, you know, once that was over, then she was brought right back over to the East St. Louis side of the river. So, you know, I've got like people born on one side of the river and then they come back over. Yes, so now my great-grandfather, before he was drafted into World War I, he was in Skipwith, Mississippi. I did some research on Skipwith. It was founded by like 5 white men founded Skipwith. So it was like 5 families. And I do know his father's name. So like, here's like this miracle. I know my father held on to everything, like the family documents, the obituaries. And my mom, you know, she's like in the basement where she like keeps stuff. And she was digging through records. Or like, I think she was looking for a picture of somebody else. And found my great-grandfather's obituary. So that's where I got all this information on my great-grandfather. I didn't know he was a World War I veteran, Army. Saw the year he was born, you know, and then the date that he died is on the obituary. Was able to put together how Aunt Clara was Aunt Clara. Like, as long as she was living, nobody really told me or put together for me that she's your Papa Austin's sister. He was like one of 6. I think I found another census record. I think he had a baby brother named Jasper. And I think that's how my father got his name. So I'll get into that a little bit later. This isn't going to be 5 minutes. So let's see. He had the obituary. By some miracle, an obituary from 1973 was still in my mom's house. And this was like 2 years ago. Yeah, so she still had it. So now I have it. I made a photocopy to like kind of keep it clean, and then I kept the original. Yeah, World War I vet, his parents' names. So it's like I found all this information about him just in one obituary reading. So I found his mom's maiden name, Dolly A. Taylor. I don't know what the A is for. And Armstead Green was his father. So these are my great-grandparents. Great-great-grandparents. I think I found Armstead Green's father, possibly. So possibly a third great-grandfather. His mom's name wasn't listed. Because like if there was a male head of household, sometimes the census records will just say, you know, she was the wife, or it'll just say female, but they'll name the census as the male head of household. And I think that's how I found out that my great-grandfather lost his father as a child. Yeah, I think I started in 2018. 2018 was the year I started researching. Started in January. It was like a New Year's resolution. And like July, I think I was able to put together through looking at these census records that he lost his dad as a child. Because there was one census record where I like see him and baby brother Jasper and a bunch of siblings in between. And the next record, it was confusing because it was my great-great-grandfather's name, but there was a female respondent and her marital status was widowed. And I'm looking at the census record, and my great-grandfather was only like 10, 11 years old. And so I kind of had like a little breakdown, because there's like this generational loss of parents as children on both sides of my family, and it broke my heart, and I had to stop researching. So my father is actually the first out of very many who had both of his parents into adulthood. My grandmother, I think his mom, I think she lost her mom as an adult. So you just have the two of them, but everyone else, when I do the video on my mom's side, it goes deep. There's a lot of parental loss as children. So those two, my father and his mother, they're like the only ones blessed with like two parents as adults. And I think that's probably why this is so hard for a lot of us, because parents either could not take care of babies or they died, or they like went off to like work somewhere and make money and they just didn't really like come back sometimes. Like there's so many reasons, but yeah, I didn't want to think about, well, I was thinking about it, and that's probably why my heart was broken. What could have happened to my great-great-grandfather to have died like that? Was it a farm accident? Because, there's all these farm laborers on both sides. The males were farm laborers and the women were like domestics or keeping house, or they stayed home and kept the children. And part of me thinks that was like a protective thing. There were no female farmhands in my family. But when my grandfather got back from the war, he was able to get a government job. And it didn't specify what branch of the government or what he did, but he was in Skipwith, Mississippi when he went to the war, and he was in Greenville when he came back. And because I don't know my grandfather's side, I'm not sure how he and my grandmother met. But yeah, so that's how the Greenville part started on my paternal grandmother's side. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get it all in. Since, it's over 5 minutes, so I may as well just get it all in. Yeah, there's a lot of arms and Armstead greens in Mississippi. I do need to check Arkansas for my great-great-grandmother. So for whatever reason, I didn't think to do that. But there's a lot of arms and Armstead greens. And between Greenville and Greenwood, Mississippi, and that Chief LaFleur Greenwood, who doesn't look like us. There's probably a lot of people named Green anyway. So if you're a Green from Mississippi, especially if you're from Greenville, yeah, look me up, because we might have some people in common. But there's a lot of Greens. I'm sure there's a lot of Greens in Mississippi. Yeah, that's really all I can come up with. I'm like pushing a stroller with one arm and holding the phone with the other hand. And I wanted to be doing this sitting down. Baby said no. Yeah, I think that's really all I can say about my dad. But yeah, I need to look into Skipwith. I need to look into those 5 families. I need to see where my great-grandfather, before conscription, and his father, where they might have been working, to see like, were they owned or were they employed? So there's still some stuff, but yeah, main roadblocks. My grandfather, my father's maternal grandmother, and Dolly Taylor and Armstead Green's parents. So I got 4 roadblocks on my dad's side, but at least I have some people to call. So I'm grateful for that. I don't know how vested they'll be. That might be part of my hesitation, but yeah, I got some homework to do. Wait till you get to my mom's side, because I got more homework there. But yeah, so if you're in a similar situation, or if you think we might be cousins and we need to like put some names together and see which siblings married who and how we might be related, then yeah, look me up. But I think that's all I got. Dang, I went over 10 minutes. I wanted to make these like 5 to 10 minutes, but I didn't realize I had that much to share about my dad's side of the family. But take care, everybody. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Father's Day. Talk to you soon.